So we had a wonderful weekend this past weekend. In my message I entitled, Remember. Not because I'm older and I got more remembering than projecting to do, but just because this idea that we find in 1 Samuel, the 7th chapter, when the Israelites were fighting with the Philistines and God helped them win, Samuel the prophet set up a stone and he called it Ebenezer, the stone of help, or hitherto in King James English, up to this point, God has helped us. So that's the theme of what we have been talking about, and it was triggered by a question asked by a friend of mine who was in his last days. His name was Charlie White, and Charlie asked this question when I walked in one day. He had only been a person of faith out of his 65 years for maybe 6 months. And he just said, Dick, what does it mean when it says to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord? And he caught me off guard. And I said, Charlie, I don't know. I haven't done that part yet. And I said, but I think all the other stuff that I've done where I've listened and obeyed and so forth, it's more of the same, that's worked. And I have that to look forward to going forward. So just 4 points that I made in the message that may be helpful in your discussion. First one was, remembering God moments is a choice. And I detailed several things where Ruth and I sat with grandchildren and children and looked back over the years and detailed some moments where we really felt God's hand was at play in observable ways, and we gave him the credit, which we should. And since we live in a world of self-talk, you can read psychologists or sports people or whatever, they're always talking about self-talk. What are you saying to yourself? What we're saying is, in your self-talk, remember the God moments. Look back and say, up till now, God has helped me. And when we look down the back trail, to use Western language, when we look down that back trail, we often might say, well, so far, so good. I love what my friend Mark Batterson in D.C. says when he says, so far, so God. Okay? So that's sort of the tagline here. Second thing is there's a principle in play here, that we look back to go forward. We look back to go forward. That doesn't mean we live back there. Living back there isn't healthy. You already lived there once, so don't be in fantasy land. But we need to look back, affirm certain things to take us forward. And as part of that, when we tell the story of what God's done, it not only helps us, it helps those around us. In the book of Revelation, it talks about believers overcoming the enemy by the blood of the Lamb, the work of Jesus on the cross, and the word of their testimony. Those two pieces. This is what Jesus did, and this is what he is doing and has done in me. The third point was, I'm not promised tomorrow. I am promised forever. None of us knows if we're going to have tomorrow. We want to have tomorrow. Nobody that I know that's at least in decent mindset would get up and say, I really don't want tomorrow. Some of us have felt that over the years. But he doesn't promise us tomorrow. What he promises us is forever with him. And that's a sure thing. And when you read the text, whether it's in the Great Commission or in Hebrews, it talks about this God who says, look, I'm with you always, even to the end of the age. I'll never leave you nor forsake you. And the key piece in that, in Hebrews 13:8, is Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. It doesn't say that. It says Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Okay. Finally, fourth thought is things change, God doesn't. He's the unchangeable God. If there needs to be an adjustment, it's not on his part. I told the story about my friend, an old Montana rancher named Fred Hine, who said to me one day, Dick, I was talking to Jesus early in the week, and he said, Fred, one of us has got to change. So I just put that out there. You can do what you want with it. But the idea that especially in moments of crisis, we need to know that God is not only with us and for us, but he will be with us and will be for us. And so Charlie, who is in hospice care, my friend that I talked about earlier, when he looked at me and said, Dick, what does it mean to be absent from the body and present with the Lord? and I responded sort of in a fumbling way. Charlie, haven't done that part yet, but when I look back, it gives me confidence that whatever happens going forward is just that, going forward. If you haven't had a chance to watch the message or the weekend, I encourage you to do that. Right at the end, I get a chance to read an email that I got while I was preparing the message from a friend of 50 years who 50 years ago this week, we sat in a restaurant in Urbana, Illinois, and I have to confess, I don't remember the particulars, but he did. Because for him, particularly, it was an Ebenezer moment. And he said, since that time, my whole family is following Jesus and all of that. So far, so God. And that's how it is.